Hey everyone, today we're going to build an onboarding app for clients. So the idea here is that we are going to build the entire process. So if you close a deal, now you need to uh, go through an onboarding process with your customer. Sometimes you need to start an implementation or training, or depending on your activity, you need to schedule meetings or go to the client company and this kind of stuff. So we are going to build an app for that today, and we are going to use AI and no code to do this. And yeah, basically we are going to start using the Jestor builder, which is our AI for building the first version of our app. And later on, we are going to add a few AI features and also customize the app using no code tools. So even if you don't know how to code, you will be able to just use Jasper to build this app for you, for your company, or for your client. So, Cruz, what exactly are we going to build today for onboarding processes?
Cool. The process of onboarding clients is usually done when you're selling services. So usually when you're selling products, you don't have like a lot of interaction with your customer post sales, right? But especially if you're selling software, you want to spend some time after the deal, after a customer has acquired your software, to provide them with some information. So how they use your software, if the implementation is going correctly. Maybe you want to check if there isn't anything blocking the implementation, or if they have some technical issue that sometimes, if left alone, customers are not going to bring those to you. Basically what they're going to do is just assume that your software, for example, doesn't work, and then they're just going to churn. But if you get in touch with them um, during this initial period, you can usually get an idea if everything is working out and prevent them from quitting and having a better experience for them at first. And we're talking about software because it's the more traditional um, industry to use, like in onboarding process for clients. But you can use this in any sort of industry in which you have services, right? So, for example, if you're a consultant, if you provide a service where they have to ask you for something, so maybe you have a process, you don't want to receive emails, you have your own internal platform. So, usually, when the customer has to do something to use your service, usually you want an onboarding process, and just to make sure that they're happy with their acquisition and so on. So what we're going to do here is create basically a Kanban board in which you can like register new customers, and you're going to have a panel, a dashboard in which you can check some information during this onboarding process, right? And we're going to talk about why some information is useful to have in that specific stage, right? So what we're going to do here, I'm going to share my screen with you guys. There we go. Like Banak said, we're going to ask for the AI to build a first version. So build a client onboarding app. It should be a Kanban board with, don't know if I'm going to use a side menu here. Uh, let's just ask for a Kanban board, and we can decide later. Okay, so I could provide more information. I could ask for specific fields. I could ask for a more detailed structure. But the idea here is that we're going to do some stuff manually, just so you guys can understand where to build stuff, right? So currently the AI is building process. You can see this progress bar here, this progress circle. It should be done in a minute. You could keep working. You don't have to wait for the AI to build stuff for you. But there you go. It's pretty quick. But if you were using Jestor for some other stuff, you wouldn't have to wait for the AI to build. All right. Okay. So before we start building, let's take a look at the structure that the AI built. I'm just going to delete this form down here. I don't think it's we're not going to use it. And in this processes, I prefer to have a button like for like to register a new client and so on. So we're just going to delete that, and I'm going to edit the Kanban board, and I'm going to click here on Go to Table, so we can see the data structure that the AI built, right? So instead of looking at the Kanban board, we're going to look at the database. So what they did was create a field like for name, so that's pretty standard, right? The email for contact, you have a phone number, you have the stages, and you have notes. So all in all, that's good. That's like the basic fields that we would probably want here. But I think that we would like some more information here, but that's cool. That's a good structure to start things off, right? And just before I start, the only other thing that I'm going to check is okay, it builds a new page with like just the table version of the Kanban board. Okay, we can use that later as a dashboard, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to edit some style, like static stuff, right? So I'm going to make it kind of like a light mode, and I'm going to disable page scrolling. So this means that the page is only like a fixed length, right? So the person won't be able to scroll. You can see here that I can't go further down. So it's just to make sure that my app always looks the same regardless of screen size, right? And the other thing that I'm going to do here is just edit the Kanban board colors as well. So I don't want a dark card. I want a white card here. And I'm also going to edit this top bar, right? So let's go with this one. So I'm going to give it a different color here. And I'm also going to change the details here. You can see that I have this like lower bar here to show where I am. So I'm going to change this to, I can use custom icons. And let's go with a icon for a, let me see if this one, for example. There you go. And also going to align this to the center of the page. And also I don't want these shortcuts here, so I can just remove them. And there you go. Okay, so this is the first version, right, of the process. So I have this Kanban board. Okay, cool. And these stages, right? So let's go back to the database and think about the stuff that we want. So during a client onboarding stage, some of the most fundamental stuff the AI already built for us, like the client name, contact info, notes, because sometimes some clients can have some specific problems that you have to pay attention to. So it's good that we have this notes field here. But one thing that is very important during the client onboarding process is that we have some follow-ups, that we have some touch points with our clients, right? So for example, one very common thing to do in these processes is to have 3 touch points, one for like the 30-day period, one for 60 days, and one for 90 days, for example. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create 3 fields here, and these are going to be date fields for touch points, and I'm going to name these 30 days, and I can select the format here. So we're going to have a field for 30 days, one for 60 days, and one for 90 days. There you go. Cool. So these are the fields in which I'm going to register when I have to like schedule a meeting to see if everything is going according to the customer's expectations, right? Cool. So we have these date fields as reminders. One thing that the AI didn't build, mainly because I didn't ask for it, is a field for attachments, right? So this is important because sometimes there may be a specific problem. Sometimes the customer can send you a file that is relevant to their process. So we can have this field here in which you can attach files and then you can check them later, especially because in a process that takes like 90 days, it's pretty common that you're going to forget a lot of stuff, right? Especially because you don't have just one client, you have a lot of clients coming in, and then you're going to forget some information about some clients. So the more information, like for example, notes and attachments that you have here, the better you're going to be able to recall relevant information about that specific customer, right? One other thing that I'm going to do here, and this is purely aesthetic, is I'm going to change the colors because I made this light mode and I think that it's now like too like bright here. So I'm just going to change the colors. And one thing that I'm going to do here is, let me see, completed. Yeah, there you go. And I'm going to click on save. Okay. One other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to create some fields. We're actually going to be using two kind of tasks here. We're going to use the task features, but we're also going to use the to-do field. And I'm going to explain why. Because the to-do field is very useful for when you have like repeated processes, right? You always have the same tasks for that specific kind of onboarding, right? So I'm going to create this one. There you go. And you can see that I have this repeat the same checklist. And what this means is that if I use this, whenever I create a new client here in this process, I'm already going to have some checklist items pre-created, right? I can create more during the process, but if you have a very standardized onboarding process, this may be a good thing to have here. So for example, I may want to do something like send instructions and like collect feedback form. So this means that whenever I create a new client here, they're already going to have these two tasks to do, right? This to-do list. And like I said, this can be very useful if you have a very standardized process. But one thing that I'm going to do later is that perhaps you don't have a standard process for all of the products, but you have standard tasks for specific products. So for example, for product A, you have like two steps, and then for product B, you have two other steps. And we can also do something for that, but I'm going to do this later, okay? Cool. So right now, all I'm going to do here is create a chat field. This is just a mirror, right? This is just going to bring information from the card, like from the records chat function, right? So I can quickly see with a glance if there's a new message there, if I'm mentioned, and so on. And similarly, what I'm going to do here is create a tasks field, which does the same thing. It's just a mirror, but it does that for task, right? Um, and I think that that's it for now. I'm going to change some stuff later. But one thing that we can already start doing is customizing the forms. And what do I mean by customizing the forms? If I try to create a new client here, this is the standard form. It doesn't look bad, it works, but we can make something a little bit more customized, a little bit nicer to look at it with custom colors and logos and so on. And when I open the record, this is also considered a form in Jestor. So I can also customize the appearance of the fields here in this open card, right? And this is especially useful because I don't have a lot of information here, but because every field is in a separate row, it kind of looks like I have a lot of stuff going on here. So we can make a more intelligent arrangement of information here. So it's a lot easier to look at the information and see everything all at once, right? And I can also customize which panels are going to be open here, right? And how many. So this is the first thing that I'm going to customize here. So I'm going to click here on forms. I'm going to edit the creation form. Creation form is for when I'm trying to create a new client like this one. And for creation, I want a side panel, right? So I want for the panel to open on the side. I'm just going to click on save now so you guys can see how this looks like. So I'm just going to click on save and there you go. This is the kind of like side panel view, right? But we're going to customize this further, right? So I'm going to click on edit creation form and I'm going to edit the custom form. I'm going to change the title. So the title of the form is going to be new client. There's going to be a description for schedule, the onboarding and touch point meetings. I'm not going to add cover and logo right now. We can do this later. In this process, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to have this, but you have the option. And now we're going to look at the fields, right? So I'm going to remove the chat and task fields here because they're kind of like just mirrors. So for the creation, doesn't make sense to have them here. But we're going to now start customizing the fields themselves, right? So you can see that I can select the fields that are going to be present in the creation form. And when I click on this icon here, this is the edit icon, you can see that I can change the name of the field in that form. I can add a description. And also I have some toggles here. For example, if I want to make that field required, and if I want to have a predefined value for that field, right? So for example, I want the client name to be required. There are other fields that are, probably should be required here. I'm not going to make them one by one. I just want to show you guys how you would do it. And what I'm going to do here, so these are the fields. We can rearrange them. You can see here that all I have to do is drag and drop them. But I'm going to add form blocks. And what are blocks in this context? Blocks are things that you add to the form that add features or change the way that you're going to use the form in some manner, but they're not exactly fields of information. For example, I can use one called inline, and all I'm going to do here is make it so email and phone are between the inline blocks, right? And what this is going to do, I'm going to click on save just to show you guys, is that now email and phone are right next to each other on the form, right? So this is a block in the context of forms here in Jestor. They change the appearance or the functionality of the forms. They're not exactly data. Those are fields, but they change the way you interact with the fields, right? So knowing this, I'm just going to finish the creation form here. So for example, I'm going to add a new inline block here for the 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days touch points. And I can also add a section, which I'm going to call touch points to make it more obvious to the person using this process what these date fields are, right? So schedule dates in which you reach out to the client. And this kind of works like the inline blocks. All I have to do is make it so the information I want is right here between the blocks, right? So let's see, I have name, email, and phone. I have notes, I have the touch points, attachments, to-dos. I'm going to rearrange these ones. And for this stage, I'm going to click here on this edit option, right? And you can see that for single option fields, you can change the appearance of the field, right? So we have some ways of seeing the information. So if I click here on new row, you're going to see that this is the default way of looking at option fields. But in this case, for example, I have some stages I want button-like because I think they bring this feeling of progression. And I'm going to add a predefined value of new. What this means is if someone tries to create a new client, it's going to be predefined as new, but they can change it if they want to. So let's click on save. I'm going to disable form responses. For those who don't know what this is, form responses are kind of like if you submit a form, you're going to receive a copy of what you did on your in your email. So for internal processes, I don't think it's that useful. For public forms or for other kinds of forms, it could be, but in this case, it doesn't make sense to leave it on, so I'm going to disable it. And I'm just going to change the colors of the form. So the button is also going to be blue. There you go. And a smaller title. So let's click on save. Let's click on new row. And this is the new form, right? So this looks a lot better, right? The standard form works. There's nothing exactly wrong with it. But this customized form makes it way more obvious what each part is, and you can also see more information more efficiently just at a glance, right? So I have the name, the client name, email, phone, notes, the touch points, and so on. So what we're going to do now is the same thing, but for the edit, for the update form, which is this one, right? So we're going to click here on forms, edit update form. And now I don't want it to be a side panel because I want a lot of information, because I want the chat, I want the tasks. So I'm going to leave this on. And I also can select the tools that I want to be able to use in this process. I don't want the email tool. It doesn't make sense to have it. Don't want connected records. I don't have any connections yet. So I'm just going to disable some. And I want to be able to see this as a triple window, right? I want 3 panels. I want the form on the left, I want the chat on the middle, and I want the tasks on the right. So I'm going to select triple form here. And I'm going to edit and do the same thing that I did with the creation form. For the title, I'm going to toggle this on. So what's going to appear on the top of the form is the name of the client. And now all I have to do is add the blocks again, right? So I can customize the appearance. And you can notice that this also means that the creation form can have a vastly different appearance from the update form, right? So in some cases, your creation form could have like pages, they could have like a YouTube video for guidance, they could have images, but then you don't want all of that stuff when you're editing the record. And with this structure that we have here, you can make them vastly different. They can have different structures. They can even have conditions like when a field is going to appear and so on. But we're not going to do that here because we don't have a lot of information here in this process. So I don't think it's necessary to do that. But let's add a new block here for inline. Again, we're going to have for 30, 60, and 90 days. We're going to remove chat and tasks.
And depending
And
on the process, sometimes we don't even use the initial form, because maybe you have an automation on your CRM that once the deal is closed, then it already generates client onboarding, and after that, you already created a record, so you're only going to use the update form, or which is basically using the card or the record itself.
exactly. So I'm just editing the colors here. So we're nearly done. And there you go. So now when I open the record, I have this structure, right? So again, this makes it a lot easier to just glance at the information and see what's going on, right? And now I can send messages here, comments in this card. So maybe I have a conversation with the customer and they can say, they're having troubles with the API, and then I can record the information here and have this for use later. And I can also create tests here. So for example, I have to check invoice because they said they were invoiced the wrong amount, for example, and then I can have a deadline here for me. And you can see that I have the all the features of Jestor that are not necessarily created in the customizable part, but you have access to them in the fixed part here of the menu, right? Cool. So we have the fields here, we have the chat, we have tasks. Let's go back to the Kanban board. And one thing that you're going to see here, let me see something. Yeah, it's already picking the form from the table, right? If you want to have, and this is important, you customize, I just customize the form for the table. This is the standard form for this process. But maybe I wanted to have a different form here in the Kanban board. I could do that. I could have a different form for when I open the record here. So I could just click here on block form, and then I could have a different form that I customize just for this Kanban board. But I just want to use the one that I've created right now. But it's important to know that you could have different forms for this specific Kanban board, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make the cards smaller. I think it looks nicer. And let's see. I'm going to remove the add card button. I don't want people to be able to click here. Oh, but maybe they can. I'm going to leave this on. Okay, so I'm going to click on save. But one thing that I want to have here as well is buttons for creating a new record, a new client here. And also I want to have filters in this page, right? So one thing that I can do here is create a title bar. And this is going to create a title bar here. I'm going to make it the same color as the rest of the app. And ooh, I probably have a lot of clients table here. So I'm going to change this name. So for now, let's see, maybe it's this one. If it's not this one, I can change this later. So let's see. Yeah, it was. I don't think it was that one. Actually, it could be. I have to change the creation form from this block to the table form. There you go. New client. Oh, there you go. Cool. So, what I'm going to do here is save. Yeah, it wasn't this one. So let's refresh this. There you go. Let's edit this. And look for, here you go, client's onboarding table. And I'm going to get the default table form. Cool, there you go. So now if I click here on new client, it's going to bring out that form with all of the customizations that I built beforehand. And now what I'm going to do is create a new filter, right? So I'm going to create a filter to put here up top as well. So I'm going to call this custom filter. I'm going to create a flexible filter because it's a little bit more general purpose, right? So basically what it does is allows me to create a filter using the structure from the client onboarding table. So what I'm going to do here is select client onboarding here. And when I try to filter stuff, it's going to filter this Kanban board automatically, right? And I can also create some other kinds of filters here. But I don't think right now it makes sense. I forgot to do one thing. So, but I'm just going to create the filter here and it's down here, but I can click here on the title bar and I can pull that filter up top. There you go. So now I have the filter here and I can also search for stuff here. So for example, Acme, and it's going to search for the information here. Cool. One thing that I forgot to do is add a field for like the owners of that account, right? So the person that is responsible for talking or for scheduling the conversations. So I'm going to use a multiple user field because sometimes you have more than one person working on that specific client, right? So I'm not going to limit myself to just one user. We have a field that is like just one, but in this case, I don't want to limit because if I needed to, I want to be able to add a second person here. And I'm also going to, now that I've created the owners field, I'm going to add them to the creation forms, right? So there you go. It's in the creation form, and now I'm going to add it to the update form. There you go. So I'm going to add myself to some records here just to show you guys some things that we can do, right? There you go. So let's go back to this Kanban board. And I'm going to talk about conditional colors here because I think in this process, it makes a lot of sense to have it, right? So I'm going to click here on build. I'm going to edit the Kanban board once again. And first things first, I'm going to change the fields that are here, right? So email, phone, they make sense to be here, but I also want the owners and the to-dos. If I, it's kind of like a progress bar of things that I've already done, right? And I want chat and tasks to see if there's any conversation going on these cards or if there's any tasks to be done here. There you go. So now what I'm going to do is add some conditional colors. So one thing that I'm going to do is, for example, just show you guys that you could do something like, if one of the if I wanted to see all the cards that belong to me, in which I'm the owner, I could do a conditional color like owners is the logged user. So as soon as I enter this Kanban board, I can see that this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, and you can check by the fact that my photo is here, that this is correct, right? But one other thing that I could do here, which I think is more useful, is that, for example, instead of seeing the things that I'm the owner, I want to see things in which 30 days, the touch point of 30 days is today, or things in which the 60 days touch point is today, or cards where the 90 days touch point is also equal to today. So why is this useful? Because now let's do some tests here. Let's look at this Acme Corp, and I'm going to make the touch point here be today for 30 days, 60 days, it's going to be here, and 90 days, it's going to be here. There you go. So let's click on save. And now this one is highlighted. So this means that if there's any touch point going on today, all I have to do is look at the colors, right? I can look at the Kanban board and then see that I have to do something here. And if I click here on Acme Corp, I can see that the 30 days touch point is due today, right? So this is kind of like a nice visual cue that you have stuff to do here. You always work with a combination of stuff, right? So you do colors, you do conditional colors, you do calendars, which I'm going to do in a minute. You do tasks, so I can click here on tasks and see all the tasks that I have due today. So you should always work with a combination of stuff, because this makes it more probable that you're not going to miss something here, right?
And
Um,
Bruce, NE Programming said hello.
cool. Hello. If you have any questions, feel free to ask here. So we can help you guys with your with any sort of information that you're looking for here. Cool. So I'm going to now change this client details page, right? So let's change the colors here again, right? Oops, I'm in the wrong place. So let's go to the page itself. I'm going to customize the colors. Disable scrolling. And I'm going to remove the form here. No, I'm also going to remove the table, because what I want to do here is create a calendar. And now I can use these as a calendar for touch points. So if I need to just see if there's anything to do here, for example, for 30 days, I can see here, right? So let's go back to client onboarding here. Oops. And there you go. And you can see that I have the calendar here. So basically that's the general idea, but I don't know if there's anything specific that you want to show here as well. For this process, we could also kind of like, we have the 30 days touch points and we have the 90 days. We could do a Gantt chart as well to see the whole period of the onboarding. But the idea here is to show that you could have a Kanban board with the stages. You could probably break this down into more stages depending on the process that you have in your company, right? And then you can have stuff like date fields for the touch points. You can have to dos and tasks and chat here, and you can do conditional callers to remind you of the stuff that you have to do, right? So just to show guys the to dos when I do them all. So it's here, and you can see the progress here. So it's kind of like a combination of tools. There's a lot of stuff that you can do apart from this regarding automations, regarding reminders. You could have automations to send emails to your customers depending on, like, for example, the date. But the idea here is just to give you a general idea of what you would do to build this onboarding process and get you started.
Yeah, I think that's the idea of the building section today. On the next week, we could add some automations, or if anyone has any specific requests, we could show how to build this. And we are also going to make this available on the template store, so you can install and use it, change it, adapt for your business. And if you have any other requests for us to build for you, maybe a specific process, a specific app, just comment, or on the live sessions ask for it, and we can do it for you. And also, if you want to get reminders of the live sessions with the different apps that we are building, please subscribe and leave the comments with questions, requests, or anything that you want. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.